and welcome back to the channel for another one of my EV 300 mile challenges. This time the car that I am in is the Peugeot e-408. So this is quite an interesting car, but I'll come on more about the car a little bit later on. But this car has a 58.2 kilowatt hour battery. Now you're actually joining me about a quarter of the way through the 300 miles because when I left this morning it was pitch black, and if I started recording then you wouldn't have seen anything. So I've currently covered about 72 miles and I'm averaging 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Now this car with a 58.2 kilowatt hour battery, there's no way it is realistically going to do a round trip of 300 miles in the real world on a single charge at all. So I'm not expecting it to do that. That's not what this challenge is all about. It's more about testing the car's efficiency and how it copes with 300 miles with maybe a charge stop in between. But we're well on our way. I think to average 300 miles in this car, you'll have to average 5.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which again in real world conditions, there's no way it's going to do that. Unless you're Polestar and you decide to try and beat the manufacturer's claim range, which they did recently in a test, although they drove at about 20 odd miles an hour for 400 odd miles and actually got pulled over by the police for driving too slowly. That's not what this range test is about, or this 300 miles challenge is about. It's about me driving normally at normal speeds, where the road allows and it's safe to do so. I'll be driving at normal speed limits. I don't know if you saw that in the news actually, that Polestar range test that they did, where they got ridiculous mileage out of an EV, but they drove so slowly. It took them 24 hours to complete this range test. It completely defeats the object really. There's no way that's real world conditions. It's like Formula One, for example. It's like a team celebrating because they finished a race consuming less fuel than any other team, but neglecting to tell you that they actually finished the race a week after everyone else. Pointless, absolutely pointless. But anyway, I digress. So, Peugeot e-408, 300 miles. How well is it going to do? Now, I've actually, before doing this range test, I've actually driven this car for about 400 miles, commuting in and out of work. And one of the things that has impressed me so far with the car is actually been returning better efficiency than I would have expected for a car of this size, because the 408 is not a small car, although it is a lot lower and sleeker than your traditional SUV, so it's probably a bit more aerodynamic from that point of view. So it has been doing quite well. Been quite pleased with it so far, to be fair. Sorry, I had to cut the video briefly there because I could feel a sneeze building. You don't want to see that on the video. But anyway, so I'm filming this in August 2025, and because it is August 2025, as you'd expect, the entire country is on fire and there is no water left whatsoever because of climate change. Oh no, wait, hang on a minute. No, it's actually colder than normal for August. It's quite a chilly day. Feels more like October than August, and it's quite wet. There's a lot of water on the road. So thank God for Ed Milliwatt and his windmills for saving us from this unbearable inferno. Anyway, so not ideal conditions for outright efficiency. There's quite a bit of water on the road today, which increases drag, and with the unusually cold conditions for August, the air is denser, so the car has to work harder to push the air out of the way. So I'm probably not going to get absolute perfect efficiency on this route today because of climatic factors. But we're not burning to death, so that's the main thing. Unusually chilly. Right, so what I will do, I'll update you a little bit further on. Actually, let's see where we are at the moment. Actually, when I left this morning, I'll show you on the screen now. So when the car was on 100% state of charge this morning, it was showing a predicted range of 293 miles, which, to be fair, is ambitious. I'm not expecting it to get close to that. But I've currently got 72% state of charge in the battery, and I've still got a range of 203 miles. So I've easily got enough to get to the halfway point at Highbury College in Portsmouth. Oh yeah, by the way, if you haven't watched my videos before, the 300-mile route that I do is from Torquay to Portsmouth and back. The main reason for that is because this particular route I used to drive in the mid-2000s when I was self-employed quite often. So it's a route that I know quite well, and it's a mix of town driving, B road, A road and motorway. So it is a proper mix of road as well. So the car's actually doing really well. I'm at 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour at the moment, average. Covered 77 miles, 72% state of charge in the battery, and 202 miles remaining on the range. So all good so far. Is that a bit of climate change poking through the clouds? I think it is. The clouds are clearing. I've got a nice bit of climate change coming through. Hopefully it will warm up a little bit. Anyway, I'll catch up with you probably as I'm about to hit the M27, because again, if you've watched my videos before, it's usually as I'm approaching M27 services that my bladder is about to explode and I'll need to pull in for a quick wee. So I'll update you then. But so far, all going well. Right, so I'm now on the M27. I'm just a couple of miles short of the services, and as predicted, my bladder is about this big at the moment. So definitely need a wee. But we are 121 miles into the round trip. We are still averaging 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour, so it's actually doing really well. I've got 141 miles of range left. I've got 25 miles until I get to Highbury College in Portsmouth, which is the halfway point. So all going really, really well. The car is actually doing slightly better efficiency than I was expecting along this type of route. Not doing too bad at all. Very, very comfortable. Just a shame about the weather conditions. I've driven through a couple of heavy rain showers, which is less than ideal because it puts a lot of water on the road, a bit more drag. But there we go. I'm now in a 50 mile an hour average speed camera zone on the M27. Of course, it's a motorway. Let's put some roadworks on. Average speed cameras, 50 mile an hour. Doesn't seem to be anything going on, but why not? At least it'll improve my efficiency anyway, sticking to 50. Anyway, I'll catch up with you at Highbury. Right, there we go. Halfway point, Highbury College, Portsmouth. I have covered 146 miles. We have averaged 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. And got 45% left in the battery and 110 miles of range left. Now, what was interesting this morning, and it was on the screen earlier when I showed you the start of the day, it said I was going to arrive at Highbury College with 29% left in the battery. I've actually arrived with 45%, so the car seems to be rather pessimistic about its own range. So I've done a lot better than the car was predicting. I've got 148 miles now to get home, and the car is showing 110 miles of range left. Now, if you watch my other videos, particularly the Kia Niro, no, not the Niro, the Kia Soul range test, the Peugeot 208 and the 308 range test, those three I stopped on the way back near a place called Wimborne, where they've got an Instavolt charger to do a quick splash and dash. That charger is about 50 miles away from me, so I'm likely to arrive there with 60 miles range left. Part of me is tempted to just go past that charger and just see how much I can eke out of this car, but I don't really see much point. I might just stop at that Wimborne one, do a quick splash and dash. So I've got plenty enough charge to get back to Torquay with no range anxiety, because it's not going to get back on 45% of the battery anyway. So I might just do a quick stop there because it's a charger I know well. It always works really well anyway. So there we are. So it's actually done a lot better than I was expecting. If you've watched my Kia EV6 video that I did, the exact same route, similar conditions to this as well, actually, if I remember rightly. That car was averaging about 4 to 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour. So this 408 is actually more efficient than the Kia EV6. Granted, the Kia EV6 does have a much bigger battery. It's 77 kilowatt hours as opposed to this one with its 58. But efficiency wise, I am really, really impressed. When I stopped at the services for a quick wee, I got out of the car and was walking across the car park. Bear in mind it's August, and I was rather regretting not wearing a jumper. It was rather cold. It's warmed up a little bit as I've pulled into Portsmouth. It's now 18 degrees, still quite cool for August. I mean, where is this climate change that they keep promising us? I don't know. But yeah, unusually chilly for an August day. But now that I'm in Portsmouth, the clouds have cleared, the climate change is in the, I mean, the sun is in the sky now. So yeah, all good. So hopefully the drive back, the weather will improve again. It's still quite windy, but hopefully it will warm up quite nicely, and that will aid the efficiency on the way back. On the journey back as well, we'll touch on the 408 and discuss the 408 in a bit more detail. But let's hit the road and I'll catch up with you shortly. Right, so I'm currently on the M27. I've not long left Highbury, but as we're in a 50 mile an hour average speed camera zone, not much traffic and there's not much going on, why don't we discuss the 408 in a bit more detail? So the 408, you know, what is it? You know, if you're watching this video, some of you may not even known that a 408 even existed, or if you did, you're probably trying to visualise the last time you saw one on the road. It's not exactly a big seller for Peugeot, particularly in the UK, but we'll touch on that as well. Now, so the 408, it's what is it really? Is it a crossover? Is it a coupe? Is it a saloon, hatchback, SUV? You know, what is it really? I think officially it's a sort of crossover four-door coupe, although it's got a quite a practical hatch opening. So it's a bit of an interesting car, a bit of a quirky thing, but it's actually really nice, and I think it is one of the best cars in Peugeot's current range. It just seems to get overlooked. Now, those of you that know me know that I do not like a high driving position. I like to be low down, as low as possible. And recently I have spent a lot of time in the Peugeot 308, the electric 308. Had one of those, did about 5,000 miles in that car over the last few months. And it's a lovely car to drive, great driving position, very comfortable, not bad efficiency as well, slightly smaller battery than this car. But the thing I really liked about it was actually pretty decent to drive. The steering was good, it handled well as well, it was nice and low. It's just, you know, it's my cup of tea, that sort of mid-size hatchback, traditional hatchback. This one sits a little bit taller, although I've got the seat as far down as I can get it. I've got loads of headroom, lovely roomy interior. I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, I suppose. But yeah, plenty of space in here for me, no problem at all. And again, some people will complain that they can't see the dials, because with the Peugeot cars you look over the top of the steering wheel at the instrument cluster. A lot of people say that the rim of the steering wheel blocks the instruments. They've just not adjusted the seat properly, really. Again, I've got this set perfectly for my driving position. The steering wheel is in a really good place, the seat's in a lovely place, and I can see all of the display, no problem at all. It just takes a little bit of tinkering with to get it right for you. Once you get it right, it's supremely comfortable. It is really nice. Lovely roomy car. It's just as spacious in here as an SUV. The boot is a decent size. It's a nice long boot, although with that sort of coupe style, it does cut the the space from the floor to the roof a little bit. So if you're dog owners, for example, and you need a nice tall boot for your dogs, maybe not the car for you. Maybe an SUV would be better. But I think for most people out there, for what most people need, this would be absolutely brilliant. It's quite a large car, nice and long. Plenty of knee room in the back for rear seat passengers. But one of the things I do really like about it, it rides incredibly well. It is a lot more comfortable over the bumps than the 308 that I've spent a lot of time in recently. The downside of that is it just doesn't handle as well. It doesn't quite handle the corners as well as the 308, but it does smooth the bumps out really nicely. And to be fair, this is set up to be a bit more of a long distance cruiser, just wafting along in comfort. It does that really well. Only niggle for me personally, I like to be low down. And even though I've got the seat at its lowest, I still feel like I'm a little bit too high up. I mean, this car I think would be perfect if it wasn't a crossover. If they just lowered the ride height by about 3 inches or even 2 inches, it would probably look better as well. Just being a little bit lower down. It would be slightly more efficient as well, being a bit lower, less air resistance. Lower the car, the more efficient it is. It would just suit me a bit better if it was lower. But that's me. Anyway, that brings me on to another subject regarding SUVs. Now, again, I have driven the Peugeot 3008, the electric one, a fair amount as well, commuting in and out of work. Now, what's interesting is that I can get, without trying too hard, on my normal route into work, I can get this car to average 5.3 miles per kilowatt hour on my route in and out of work. The electric 3008, I average about 4.3, so it's about 1 mile per kilowatt hour different. And yes, the E3008 has a bigger battery, it's 73 kilowatt hours as opposed to this one's 58. But that difference in efficiency actually makes the range the same between this car and the electric 3008. And that just goes to show that, you know, SUVs are a bit of a funny one for me. I've never really seen the point in an SUV, especially for normal people, normal families. You know, what is the point in an SUV? I mean, if you live in the middle of the sticks and you need a four-wheel drive with ground clearance because you have to take it on a rutted lane or cross a field, then fair enough. But for your normal family that do school runs and shopping, what is the point in an SUV? Why do people like them so much? I mean, you know, years ago when I was working with a particular brand, you know, Hyundai, or Hyundai as they're called now. You know, I worked for them in that transition between, you know, Hyundai selling lots and lots of hatchbacks and the crossovers and SUVs really becoming popular. And a classic example for me, I had so many customers that had 1.6 diesel i30s, and these cars would easily do 60 to the gallon, no problem at all. I had one as a company car, and on occasion I could get over 70 to the gallon just commuting into work. It's still the most efficient car I've ever run today that has no hybrid or electric in it at all. So I think I got 76 to the gallon at one point. And you know, these owners would come in and see the new iX35 and later on the Tucson and say, oh, that's what I want. It's like, okay, no problem at all. What is it about the car? Oh, yeah. And a lot of people would say they want to be higher up, which I can never really understand anyway. Why you want to be up high, detached from the road? Anyway, they say, yeah, I want to be higher up and blah, blah, blah. And then you'd hand the car over, diesel iX35 or diesel Tucson. Then within a couple of weeks, that person's phoning you up and saying, well, I'm not very happy. The i30 diesel that I had, I could easily get over 60 to the gallon out of that car. This one's, I can barely get over 42 to the gallon. And you're thinking, oh yes, 42 to the gallon out of a diesel Tucson, that's pretty normal, you're doing pretty well. And they'd be kicking off over the phone, going, no, it's absolutely ridiculous, there must be something wrong with it. I was getting 60 to the gallon out of my i30, and they don't seem to understand. They've gone from a really nice mid-size hatchback that's low to the ground, aerodynamically reasonably efficient, light, it will do brilliant MPG, and they've bought a lumpy, wallowy, heavy SUV, and they're moaning that the fuel efficiency they're getting is awful. Well, of course it is. Anyway, so that's why I really do struggle with the concept of SUVs. I think you're far better off with the hatchback equivalent, or if it's boot space you need, just get an estate version. You know, that i30 estate had a massive boot on it. They did the i40 as well, that was a huge boot. You know, far more practical, far more fuel efficient than the Tucson. But anyway, who am I to judge? But if I give you an analogy like a washing machine, for example. So if you're looking to replace your washing machine and you go into a washing machine showroom and that salesman says, yeah, I've got a fantastic washing machine for you. Oh, by the way, it's bigger than your old washing machine, so it's not going to fit where your current one fits. so that might be an issue. It's also going to consume an awful lot more water and electricity than your current washing machine, but you can't fit any more washing inside it. It'll be the same size inside, but it's bigger, so it won't fit where you want it to go, and it will eat your electricity and eat your water a lot quicker. How does that sound? You'd think it was absolutely mad. You'd tell that salesperson to do one, and yet people seem to flock over SUVs and ditch their really nice, practical, economical hatchbacks to get a massive, heavy, lumpy SUV that munches its way through fuel, tyres, brakes, all sorts. But anyway, that's my opinion about SUVs. I know they're really popular, and I do very well out of selling SUVs and have done in the past, but that's just my personal opinion. Personally, I think you'd be much better off with an estate or a hatchback, but there we go. Anyway, 408, really enjoying it so far, very comfortable, better efficiency than I was expecting, and I think I'm coming to the end of this 50 mile an hour average speed camera zone, so I'm going to tune off for a minute and then we'll catch up a little bit later on. Right then, I am just pulling into the Instavolt chargers near Wimborne. I think I will charge here anyway, because there's no way I'm going to make it all the way home without having to plug the car in, so I might as well charge here, because these chargers have always worked really well for me in the past, no problems at all, so it might as well. Let's watch the pedestrian. Thank you very much. Right, let's see how easy it is to get a charge going into this car. Always love this charger. There's a bollard right next to my door and I open it. Right then, let's have a go. I can never remember the speed of these chargers when I pull up. I think they're 100 kilowatts. But let's go. Right, CCS into the car, tap my card. Well, 125 kilowatts these. Oh, it's charging. That was literally, what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds from tapping my card. It says it's charging. Oh, there we go. Right, we're pumping in 55 kilowatts, 60 kilowatts, 61, 70, 77. We're now at 79 kilowatts. Now we seem to be set at 79. I'll take that. Yes, this particular charge is rated at 125 and we're drawing 79. And I have 25% in the battery, 58 miles left. I should have looked at how many miles I covered actually before I switched off. 198 miles. So when I plugged in, I had 198 miles, or I've covered 198 miles and 58 miles of range left in the battery. So that is looking like around about 255 to 260 miles of realistic range out of the e-408. That's pretty good. And yeah, it's charging at a good speed as well, so I'm not going to have to wait here very long at all to build myself a really big buffer to get back to Torquay. And literally in the time that I've got back into the car, it's gone from 58 miles of range to 62, 25% to 27%, so it is charging really, really quick. Right, so yeah, everything's going really well so far. The car's charging really well. It took the machine literally seconds to activate the charge on the car as soon as I tapped my card, so that's probably the fastest connection I've ever had. Really impressive. So I'll catch up a little bit later on when I'm a bit closer to home. See you in a bit. Right then, so I'm just leaving the charger. I only spent just under 15 minutes on the charger, and that has given me 50% back into the battery and a buffer of just over 30 miles to safely get home to Torquay. So I've got a 30-mile buffer to play with. And just after I cut the video the last time, the heavens opened and it absolutely hooned it down. So the road is now absolutely saturated. So again, not ideal conditions for efficiency today. Lots of drag from the tyres and the water on the road. But we're doing okay. So literally less than 15 minutes on that charger. I've got 50% in the battery now, 130 miles showing on the range, and 95 miles to get home. So I've got plenty in there. So it should be plain sailing from here on in, but we'll keep an eye on the efficiency to see how that goes. I'll catch up with you a little bit closer to home. See you in a bit. Okay, so a quick update for you. I have got 57 miles left to get home and 85 miles left on the range. So just under a 30-mile buffer to get home. So still plenty. No issues at all, no range anxiety. Easy peasy. While I've been driving, I've been thinking about the SUV thing that I mentioned earlier. And what I think I'll try and do is, as soon as I can, try and get my hands on the E3008 and do this route again in the 3008. So although it's got a much bigger battery, with my experience of commuting in and out of work and the difference in efficiency between this 408 and the 3008, I don't think the range is going to be that much different between that car and this car. So although that car, the 3008, has a much bigger battery than this one, I don't think necessarily it's going to give you that much more range. So there you go, just proof that sometimes bigger isn't always better, eh fellas? So I think I will try and get my hands on the electric 3008 and do this route again, because it would be quite interesting just to see the difference and see if I can prove that you'd be far better off with a lower, sleeker car that's just as practical, but it'd be far more efficient. Well, I'll leave you now and I'll catch up probably around at Exeter when I've got about 20 miles left, just to see how the efficiency is doing then. I'm still tracking at about 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour at the moment. So we'll see you in a bit. Right, there we are, back in Torquay. And the situation is I have 12% left in the battery. And incidentally, the battery warning light came on at 12% as well, so the warning light is on. And I have 27 miles left in my range. So it looks like that just under 15-minute stop near Wimborne on the Instavolt charger was absolutely spot on. That's all I needed. I've got plenty enough to get back to Torquay. It was really good. Now, finally, from the charger pretty much to here, the weather has been horrendous. There's been downpour after downpour, and the rain has literally just stopped. The roads have been absolutely saturated. It's not been very pleasant at all. Yeah, quite challenging conditions. I mean, you'll be watching this video early September. That's when I'll put the video out. But I'm actually recording it end of August. And bear in mind, it's August. It's now the middle of the day. And this is the warmest it has currently been all day. It's 18 degrees. It's not even hit 20 degrees. And when I was at the services earlier, it was actually quite chilly. I wish I had a jumper on. So where's the climate change, Ed? Where's the climate change you've been promising us? It's freezing. Anyway, back to the 408. I've averaged 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour over the 294 miles, which I'm actually really, really impressed with. I set out with a target in my head this morning of 4.2 if conditions were pretty good. So that 4.5, that equates to a real world range over the charge of the battery of about 260 miles. Which for a car this size with a 58 kilowatt hour battery, that's really impressive. Those 300-mile challenges that I've done so far, I've done Kia EV6, Soul EV, E208, E308. All four of those cars did pretty much what I was expecting. But this E408 has actually done better than I was expecting. It's really impressed me, actually, its efficiency. I wasn't expecting to be as efficient as it is, especially given the conditions that the weather has thrown at it today. So I have been really, really impressed. So just to close off really my thoughts on the e-408. Obviously, you know my thoughts on SUVs. I personally, if it was my own money, I would definitely be buying this one over the E3008, purely because it's lower down, it's not as lumpy, and it's more efficient. It does pretty much the same range as the E3008 will do in real world conditions as well. When I first got into the car a few hundred miles ago, I was a bit nonplussed at first, mainly because the car sits a little bit too high for my liking. But now I've done 700 miles in the car, that's not so much of an issue for me anymore, because the car does everything else so well. The fact that I'm sat a little bit too high for my liking is kind of going into the back of my head a little bit. I'm not too worried about it anymore. But for ride comfort, it is really, really nice. It's got a great cockpit as well. I can see everything. The visibility is good. Very smooth. The only slight niggles for me, again, there seems to be a thing with Stellantis cars, although the 308 wasn't bad. The steering is just far too light. Even in sport mode, it is too light, lacking in feel. It almost feels like it's not even connected to anything. So sometimes you put the car into a corner and think, I think it's connected to the front wheels. But that seems to be a thing with modern electric power steering systems nowadays. It is overly light. The other thing for me, this being an electric car, one of the appeals for me is that electric cars have instant power, instant torque, and they can leap off the line really well. This seems to be a Stellantis thing as well, whether they've engineered this into the cars on purpose, but even in sport mode, you'd mash your foot to the floor in the accelerator pedal, and a lot of EVs, you get the, oh, blimey. But in a lot of the Stellantis cars that I've driven, they seem quite laggy on the pickup. I think that might be on purpose. I think they're holding the power and the torque back, because there has been lots of reports over the last few years of people launching their EVs through shop windows or off of multi-story car parks as well, because they do launch off the line pretty quick. So it doesn't quite feel like an EV should when you first put your foot down, but once it's rolling, once you're 15 mile an hour in sport mode, you've got 210 horsepower. It does pick up and go really well. So from a driving point of view, it's really good. A lot of the Stellantis electric cars that I've driven over the past few years have a B mode for extra regen braking. It's either on or it's off. This one, I'm pleased to say, has got regen paddles behind the steering wheel. There's only 3 regen modes, so it's not quite as many as some other brands have, but it's a step in the right direction. And the maximum regen, which I've been driving the car on most of the time today, does a really good job. It doesn't quite bring the car to a complete stop, but it's almost one pedal driving, and I've been perfectly comfortable with max regen switched on today. It seems to work really well. So there we are. Really impressed with the e-408. It actually was better than I was expecting. And the 408 is a really good car anyway, and you can get it in a petrol automatic, a plug-in hybrid with 226 horsepower, so that's got plenty of punch to it, or this electric version. Personally, I think the petrol version, the engine isn't big enough for the size of the car. Plug-in hybrid is plenty powerful enough, but you know my views on plug-in hybrids. If you watched my videos before, I'm not overly keen on them. So this electric 408 would be my pick of the range. It does all the day-to-day stuff fantastically well. Really cheap to run if you can charge at home. And the real-world range and efficiency is actually better than I was expecting. So this would be my pick, the electric version of the 408. But anyway, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one, which hopefully should be the electric 3008. If I can wangle one for a weekend, I'll do the 300 mile challenge in one of those just to compare. But thanks ever so much once again. See you on the next one.